Welcome back to Get Your Sax Together, guys. I'm pro saxophonist Jamie Anderson. This week I'm going to teach you all about how to do falls, scoops, bends, glissandos, all that stuff that involves getting off a note and to a note. So let's dig into it. If you can't remember all the information from the lesson, fear not, because I produced a free PDF cheat sheet. Just make your way down into the description underneath this video, click the link, super simple process, and I will send you a free PDF cheat sheet to accompany this lesson with all the techniques listed that we're going to go over. So let's get a grip on all this stuff about falls, glissandos, scoops, bends, you name it. Okay, now then, this is going to cover anything that involves not hitting the note at perfect pitch and staying on it for the duration of the note. So there's 4 things we can do on sax to get creative with the note. We can go up to the note, or we can go down to the note. Then the third thing we can do is we can go down from the note, or we can go up from the note. So they're the 4 different expressions of scoops, bends, and falls and glissando, whatever you want to call them. Right, let's deal with them one at a time. First of all, let's look at up to a note. Now you can call this a scoop, a bend, a rip, a glissando. Sometimes it's written with a wiggly line going up to the note. Sometimes it's written with a little kind of angled scoop just before the note. Sometimes it's written with a straight line and gliss written on it. Sometimes it's just a straight line without gliss. There's really no set there's no set protocol for how this is notated. So you just got to use your interpretation when you're reading music with all this stuff. So let's talk about going up to the note. We can do it in 3 different ways, okay? The first one is we can do it with no bend, no throat bend, just by using grace notes on the instrument. So each note will be played at pitch, and then we quickly use a grace note to get the effect of going up to the note we want, the target note, if you like. So here's a little demonstration of that. The second thing we can do to go up to the note is to finger the notes, finger a note beneath, a semitone or a tone, and then we smear it with our throat and embouchure so that it's a smooth scoop up to the note, although we're still moving our fingers. I'll demonstrate that. This is what this sounds like. If you need help with this one, then you need to go up to that card there and find my video on getting vibrato in sax, working on your throat flexibility, a great video to teach you how to bend notes in sax, which is super important for this whole process. Okay, moving on to the third one, which is not moving your fingers at all. So you only finger the target note, and we only use our throat embouchure to bend into the note. Okay, so that's what this one sounds like. Here we go. So that covers bending up to the note. Now, what about if we want to go down to the note? I don't know what the exact technical name for it is. You might call it a downward scoop. You sometimes get it in big band writing. You sometimes get it in horn section writing. Now, what I do is I play a super high note, as high as note as you possibly can, and then you use your throat to drop down the pitch, and then you quickly finger the last few notes to get down to the target note and really accent the last note. So hit a super high note as high as you can, sort of use your throat and embouchure to bend it down to fall off that note, and then at the last minute you quickly slam your fingers down really quickly to get to the target note. Now, all these techniques when you're using your fingers involve getting really fast at scales. Now, the best way to practice scales is my method, which you can find on the card linked up there. So get your scales together, especially your chromatic scales and your but your diatonic scales as well. Because when you're doing these really quick finger movements, if you can't do your scales, it's just not going to work. It ain't going to happen, buddy. So you need to do your scales. So here's a little demonstration of what I mean. Hit that high note and then go pew, and then ping it down to hit that target note. Hopefully this will work. Here's what it sounds like. So when we're going down to the note, it's usually notated as a kind of a steep curve bottoming out to the target note. I don't know how to describe it really, but it looks like a kind of some sort of slur going down to the note, like a downward bend. So we've covered going up to the note, we've covered going down to the note. So they're the two things that cover going to the note. Now let's look at the other two, which is going from the note. And let's start with going down from the note. This is probably the most common one of all, which is called a fall or a glissando. I don't know what else you might describe it as. Different people call it different things. And again, it's notated different ways as well. So it could be a line that falls off. It could be a wiggly line that falls off. It could be a line that says gliss. It could just be a short curved line off. I like to use that one a lot. It depends on the fall. If it's a really long fall with lots of notes that goes on for a long time, I usually notate it with a long angled wiggly line. But if it's just a kind of bow quick fall, I'll just do a little small curved fall insignia on the music after the note. So how do we do this? How do we fall off the note? Well, it depends on the context and how far you want to fall from the note. So the first one, there's 3 different techniques here. The first one is using your embouchure and throat only. Now what you'll do is you hit the note and then you just relax your embouchure and then taper off your breath at the same speed. So it kind of goes bam. Okay, here's a little demonstration of that. The second technique for going down from the note involves fingering a scale and going down very quickly, but smearing it with your embouchure as well, so you can't hear the individual notes. Remember that exercise earlier about getting your throat flexibility. It's all about that. Saxophone is all about this throat flexibility, let me tell you. So you're not going to be able to do this without these techniques, and you can find it on the video I coded earlier. So you're going to finger the notes and you're going to go down a scale quickly. And at the same time, you're going to smear it with your throat so that you can't hear the individual notes change. So that's what this sounds like. The third way of doing a fall or a glissando is not to use your lip at all, but just to quickly finger the notes. Now, it could be a diatonic scale, and you just quickly sort of put your fingers down. Or it could be a chromatic scale, depending on the context. It all depends on the music. But what you always do is you taper off your breath to nothing as your fingers go down the instrument. Now, that is the skill of this, of course, to go bow. So you get a nice even taper and you don't get notes jumping out. So bam, 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 bam. You know, because that's what quite often happens. It needs to be a nice even bam. Okay, so let me try and demonstrate that for you. That is using your fingers without smearing it with your embouchure. Here we go. So that's the 3 techniques to go down from a note, which is embouchure only and throat, embouchure and notes smeared into each other, or just notes only. They're the 3 different techniques. So that only leaves one thing to do, which is going up from a note. Remember, we've done up to a note, down to a note, down from a note, and the final one of the 4 combos is going up from a note. So this is when you would hit the note dead on, and then you go bow, and then you rip up at the end of it. Now this would normally be like a line that kind of goes like a, you know, like a exponential curve or something after the note, but it could also be a straight line or a glissando wavy line going up. Unfortunately, there's not really a standard notation for any of this stuff, but you know, hey, just got to get over it. What you would do for this one is, which is up from a note, you would hit the note and then you start doing your fingers up, and then you use your embouchure, and when you get into the high register, you just kind of squeak it up. You know, you're just trying to use your embouchure and finger some notes and try and get some real altissimo squeak to it. I can't describe it any better than that. So you hit the note, you start bending up, and then when you get into the high register, you try and increase the speed of it with your embouchure and throat. So you go bow. So give it a nice little sort of whip at the end. It sounds really good. I shall have a go at playing that one for you, which is up from a note, the final expression that we're going to learn. Here we go. Let's have a very quick recap of what we learned today. So, technique 1 is going up to a note, and you can do it with notes only, notes and embouchure, or embouchure only. The next one is going down to a note, and you would tend to use your embouchure and then fingers at the last minute to whip it into place. The next thing you would do is going down from a note, which you can do embouchure only, embouchure and fingered notes but smeared, and notes only. So they're the 3 different combos of that. And then finally, you've got up from a note, like an upwards bend. And that is, you start with your fingers and then you use your embouchure for the last bit, which is exactly the opposite of down to a note. And you'll also notice that going up to a note is the exact same techniques as going down from a note. So they're all just in reverse. If you master these techniques, you will have no problem playing in big bands, in horn sections, with funk, soul, pop, jazz, you name it, that covers all the bases. And all the solos that I cover in my Hall of Fame series, which is linked on the card up there. When you're learning the great sax solos from the Hall of Fame series, all these players are going to use all these techniques all the time. Now, the one thing you don't want to do is this horrible, like, beginner's bwow, like, out of control bend to every note, which is like a kind of lip thing. I don't even know how people do it, but it's horrible. So you need to stay well away from that. Get out of that habit, because it sounds horrible. So focus on the techniques I've taught you today, and your sax playing is really going to sound much better. It's going to sound great. It's going to sound really convincing. That's it for this week. A really, really important lesson covering how to get to a note from the top and bottom and from a note away, doing it up or down. So I've covered every base in this tutorial. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you really got some value from this content. You can give something back to me by subscribing to the channel. Click the bell icon to be notified when I upload material. You can go and check out my Instagram feed and leave a comment down below. Ask me anything you want. I always answer every comment I get in YouTube. So far. Right, so that is all great stuff. And don't forget, go down into the description down there and you can get your free PDF for the lesson with all these techniques explained and listed. You can print off that cheat sheet, have it on your music stand, and you can practice these techniques. I will see you next week for more awesome saxophonic goodness. I never come up with a good sign off these days. Have a good week, keep practicing, and I'll see you later. Take it easy. Bye.